Well, we're starting this vlog off a little bit different than the last few. This isn't necessarily an outdoors categorized video in terms of like hunting, fishing, deer management, but we are prepping this spot to be a campsite or a site that you can pull a camper back in and park. Reagan helped me out a ton last night clearing a bunch of stuff, moving dead trees and branches and limbs, clearing brush, and it was fun. We got a lot done, but today I'm gonna try to finish this up. I gotta remove all of this stuff right in here, cut these stumps out, cut out a few more small trees and cut them up. I want to make sure that we have enough room to where we can pull a truck with a camper back here, or just pull a camper back here in general, or back one in and park it. We're gonna make sure we have enough room so we don't have to worry about hitting stuff. Let's get to work and see how much we can get done, and then we're gonna get on to work in the dually for the rest of the video. Well, we were able to get that area back here all cleaned out. Took a little longer than I thought, about 2.5 hours, and we got it all finished up. And it took about 2.5 hours last night to get half of it done. You can see a beautiful little campsite. I ground that stump down, well, ground it down, I cut it at the dirt, and then I took the mower and mulched up all this crap, and I know what guys are going to say about the blades, but it's $50 for new blades, and it takes 5 minutes to swap them out. I'm not going to go rent a mulcher just to mulch up all these little sticks and stuff when I can just replace my blades if they ever give me an issue for $50. But there's a nice spot right here. I mean, there's a lot of different ways you could use this space. Other than needing to smoothen this mound out right here, that's the only thing I guess you could say that's in the way. And I could either come out here with a shovel and try to tough it out, or just bring my dad's tractor over here and just give it one swift push. But then again, between all the time of going to get it, loading it up, bringing it over, all this, I mean, shoot, it could take me freaking way longer in drive time, having to go the opposite way and then having to drive an hour back with it. I could just take a shovel and just start cutting that up real quick and get it out of the way and spread it out. Let's get to the shop and work on that dually. And before we get into installing the new injectors on the dually, I want to talk to you guys about the head stud situation, the head bolts. You guys, wow, you guys really got on me about the proper grammar. Yes, I know there's a difference between head bolts and head studs. Head bolts, there's no nut that threads on top. It's just a one-piece bolt that just goes straight down in, versus a head stud threads down in, and then you thread a nut down on top, and then it's supposed to help with clamping force. I understand that. I've done head studs on a couple of trucks. I said head stud. I know it's technically, the ones that are in it are not technically head studs, they're head bolts, but they are upgraded head bolts, and that's all they meant, was the fact that they're not an OEM stock replacement type deal. So let me go into something with you guys. So ones that are in it right now, they're not factory, and I know that technically head studs have, you know, a higher rated clamping force and, you know, all this other stuff, and, you know, like if you're going to do high boost, high horsepower, like obviously it's more of a bulletproof and safe way to go with an actual head stud setup, which I did buy head studs, and I'll get into that in a second. But for this particular truck, it's not going to be seeing like, you know, 80 pounds of boost. I mean, it's not going to be seeing like crazy numbers. It's going to have 50 horse injectors. It's got an upgraded governor spring kit in it, zero fuel plate, AFC spring kit, compound turbos. We were going to do head studs, but it's got head bolts in it, upgraded head bolts. So it's not a crazy high horsepower truck. When we said that we're going to try to keep it around 400 horse, like it might be close to 400, but like that doesn't mean that, you know, it's going to be pedal to the metal flooring at 400 horsepower, you know, all the time, because the truck, the actual horsepower that it will make with that setup, with the fuel and air that it's getting, might not even be 400. It might be like 350. 400 was the goal. That's what we're shooting for. But that being said, the head studs that are in it, I looked up all kinds of stuff on the head bolts that are in it right now to compare it to head studs, and, you know, what's the big difference? And obviously they're a different design, but I mean, like, what's the difference in the ability to keep that engine held together properly, to make sure your head doesn't come up. The difference between the Mighty Diesel head bolts that are in it, the Mighty Diesel head bolts are rated to hold 35 to 45% stronger than factory head bolts. That's what they're rated at, 35 to 45% stronger holding force than factory head bolts, even though technically they're the same concept. Comparing that to a set of ARP head studs, and it says ARP head studs are rated for 55% to 60% stronger than stock head bolts. So obviously there's a 10% gap there, you know, 35% to 45% to 50% or 55% to 60%. I mean, obviously there's a difference, but it's not that much of a difference to be like worried about, oh my gosh, you know, with a less than 400 horsepower truck, that, you know, 10% difference in ability to hold that head on there is gonna make or break the entire deal. You know what I'm saying? So, and I understand what people are saying. I'm not calling you guys out like, oh my gosh, you guys just don't know what you're talking about. You guys are super helpful in the comment section. I highly appreciate you guys informing me when I'm, you know, wrongfully, you know, quoting an item that's technically not the proper terminology for it and stuff like that, so that I don't look like an idiot next time I go on camera, and giving me the stats and the information. And there was a lot of guys that were like, you know, just change them out, you know, just to be safe, you know, just change them out, just change them out. Understandably, when you're not the one doing the job and you're the one watching the video, I totally understand. Of course, more stuff, more video, it's cool, you know, like just do it. You know, I've already got the head studs, I understand that too. There was also a lot of people that were like, if it's got upgraded head bolts, I don't think with a 400 horsepower truck you really got to worry about it that much. Like, I mean, yeah, it's, you know, it's better to be safe than sorry, but like, you could also, you know, within 5 days of this giveaway being over, you could also do the head studs and then actually damage the head gasket. You could have a head stud break in the block when you're torquing it down. You could have, you know, head separation if for some reason they weren't properly, you know, torqued to spec or properly installed, you know, when you take it for your first drive. I mean, you could, I don't know, there's just a lot of things that could go wrong while trying to do something that's supposed to make things better. It could go very wrong, and that's just like with anything in life. But I mean, in the situation that I'm in, I'm like, oh man, I've got 5 days left of this giveaway. It's already got upgraded head bolts that are rated for 35 to 45% stronger holding force compared to factory head bolts. Is it worth taking the chance of messing something up with the head or the head gasket? When you're in a rush, things can just go wrong. I just really don't want to mess something up. So what I think I'm going to do is leave the ones that are in it in. But if the person that wins the truck wants the head studs done, I will give you the box of head studs, the brand new box. I will give you the brand new box of head studs, and I will give you an extra $500 to have somebody install them if you want them installed. And the only reason I'm gonna say that is because I don't want to do the head studs and for some reason something goes wrong and somebody's driving down the road and the freaking something goes wrong and it's like they blow a head gasket on their way home or just whatever. You see what I'm saying? Like, there's just a lot that can go wrong, and right now the truck runs beautifully, and it does have upgraded head bolts that are rated to hold 35 to 45% more. I hope you guys understand what I'm talking about here. So, I mean, with the time crunch that I'm in, I think I'm just going to leave it up to the winner to decide what they want to do, because there were a lot of people that were like, do it, and then there were a lot of people that were like, no, don't do it. You know, I understand people saying, oh, you could have peace of mind knowing that you did it, but it's like, I feel like I'd have less peace of mind knowing that I did the head studs at the last second or right before the truck leaves than not doing them. You see what I'm saying? So hopefully you guys understand that. Back here in the shop with some BD diesel injectors for the truck. They are 45 horsepower injectors. I think I said 50 previously, but they're actually 45 horsepower injectors. So I'm gonna get these opened up. Don't remember if I've actually ever used BD injectors before. I know that I hear a lot of good stuff about the BD diesel stuff. I mean, I read up on them all over online and stuff, and they seem to have a good reputation. With my kit, they actually gave me a free boost elbow for the turbo, so I don't know if I'll be using that or not. I might. I mean, it was free. So they gave you a free little boost elbow for your truck. And then in here, they've got all your crush washers and all that stuff, you know, for your injectors and your fuel lines that go across the injectors and all that stuff. They give you all of the stuff that you're gonna need to replace all your old ones. It should be a standard thing that, you know, people offer with injectors and stuff, but you'd be surprised how many don't include that stuff. They even smell good. I don't know why. It's kind of like when you go to the bank and they give you a fresh stack of cash and it's like freshly printed and it has a certain smell. It's kind of like the smell of the injector, like same feeling you get. They're actually individually wrapped and packaged with bubble wrap, just so the nozzles don't get damaged. And then the nozzles and the top portion there where the fuel goes in and you thread your fuel lines back on, they're actually capped off as well for protection, and also so that nothing gets in there in the shipping process, whether it be debris, packing materials, whatever, nothing gets like inside your injector somehow. Let's get to it. I've got an injector puller over here as well. So we're gonna get to pulling these injectors, putting the new ones in, and then getting these fuel lines on and starting this truck up before we start to tamper with the compound setup. The reason I wanna do that is because I would rather test it out before we start on the compound setup. That way, if there's any bugs we need to work out of the twin intake setup or the injectors, we work those out before we put compounds on. And now you've got 3 new elements, you know, compounds, new injectors, and a new twin intake system. And if you don't test any of it, you know, as you go, then next thing you know, if you made any mistakes anywhere, you know, you're gonna find out when you've got all kinds of stuff that you have to evaluate to figure out what the actual problem is and where it's coming from. So let's get into it. Let's get to pulling these injectors out and dropping these new ones in. The injectors pulled out of the 12 valve here, and something you guys want to make sure you check and make sure of is that you got your small copper washer on the end of the nozzle there. Make sure you have all 6 of them when you pull all 6 injectors. There should be one on the bottom of each of them. If there's not, I'm letting you know this because I've made this mistake back a while ago. Then we were wondering why the truck's fuel, you know, kept leaking out of one of the injectors and everything was torqued to spec and everything was done. Well, one of them had a double washer and that made just the slightest difference, and it didn't seat properly on the top then because that little bit of difference in how far down the injector was not able to go. Yeah, that was fun. So just make sure you get all of your washers out before you go to put your new ones in. Just make sure they all came out. Other than that, all the injectors look good. They're all clean. None of them are like lathered in oil. They all look pretty darn good. I don't know how they're supposed to feel or look, but they look pretty clean. I mean, I honestly don't think they're super old injectors. Maybe they are, maybe they're not, I don't know, but I mean, they all look pretty darn good. They all look pretty good and healthy. So we're gonna get to putting the new ones in. Again, you know, it's a pretty simple process. This is the way they came out. New injector is gonna have the same thing. That's gonna go over the top and then it'll just thread in, and it's 44 foot-pounds, I believe, for these trucks. At least that's what the last ones were that we did. And I'm guessing it's gonna be the same. It's, you know, it's a 96 12 valve versus this one. It's the same thing. So 44 foot-pounds, torque spec. Make sure you use your torque wrench. If you don't have one, if you're just gonna use it for a one-time project, you can go to Harbor Freight and get the stupid things. They're not that expensive and it's worth having it done right. So let's get to putting the small copper washers on the new injectors, throwing them in there, getting everything buttoned up. Quick little update on where we're at. I got the lines all tightened back on this side, and the injectors are torqued to spec. I got the banjo bolts along that side fuel line all torqued in. The only ones that are not are the injectors. So the injectors are just basically spun on there probably 50%, so that the lines, like if you watch this, the lines have just enough wiggle room, just enough airspace to kind of push some fuel up out of there. So hopefully that'll be enough to get some fuel poking out so we can see it. Reagan's gonna be out here. She's gonna be helping me spot the fuel. She's gonna be helping let me know when the fuel's starting to come up out of the injector so that we know when to crank the lines down. Do that one at a time until they're all good and she fires off.
Second one.
Third one?
Okay. Yeah, this third one and this one.
Okay, good.
Far back one and the one that you were starting on.
I'm trying to clean the fuel off of these. It sounds awesome. So I don't know how many of you guys remember the last time I did a set of injectors on one of these trucks, but I gotta say it's been too long. I want to say it's been 3 years since I've done injectors on a 12 valve, which seems crazy because I've owned a lot of 12 valves in the last couple years. It's been that long since I've done that kind of stuff. And to be honest, I think because I was so frustrated when I did it as a newbie. And when I mean newbie, I mean I was 17 years old, 18 years old when I was starting to do this stuff. And I was at that stage of learning where like I wanted to learn how to do stuff, but I didn't follow instructions. I didn't read instructions. I didn't take my time. And if I didn't get it done fast, I thought something was just going wrong. But in the reality, nothing was really going wrong. I was just being impatient with the process of the project. And to be fair, like injectors are not a hard job, but this took me 2.5 hours to do the injectors. But it was actually fun because I took my time and I did it right the first time without just kind of like, taking the instruction manual, tossing it aside, just trying to throw injectors in and get it done. And then next thing you know, you got to pull everything apart and redo it because you freaking did it wrong. And then I'm thinking, I don't ever want to work on these stupid trucks anymore. I'm just going to freaking buy trucks that have some stuff already done to them or just not touch it and just do cosmetic stuff because I'm like, this sucks, But once you've done it and then you look back at that and you're like, wow, that was actually just me just kind of being stupid. It's actually very enjoyable now. I actually really enjoy doing these little projects. 45 horsepower BD diesel injectors, and that's the first startup with the new injectors and the Banks Power Max twin ram air system. So that thing sounds really good. I don't know, I'm guessing it has something to do with this, but the turbo sounded so much louder, like it just whistled and whistled. When you revved it, it just spooled up and it sounded real good. Everything seems to be functioning well. Now I would take it on a joyride just to kind of test out the injectors and the intake with the factory turbo and intake on it. However, I don't have any seats. Therefore, it would make it kind of a pain in the butt to drive a stick shift down the road, not to mention, really don't feel like getting in an accident, not having any seat belt, any kind of seat, any cushioning, and just banging around in the cab of that truck, because that would suck. That being said, we cannot do a test drive today. However, I'm very satisfied by at least how it sounds. It sounds like it runs better, looks like it runs a little bit cleaner in terms of at an idle. So super happy with that, and I just can't wait to get these compounds in. If you want to enter to win this truck plus $5,000 cash, you've only got 5 days left, and then this giveaway is gone. All you got to do is go to lmpgear.com, buy anything on the store, and as soon as you check out, you're automatically entered to win. You can buy a cap like this, a t-shirt, a hoodie, keychain, sticker, decal, cup, mug. You get the idea. There's a lot of stuff. So if you want to buy something, you can get entered to win this truck plus $5 grand. If you don't, I guess not everybody's that cool. Messing with you guys. I appreciate all you guys. Even if you could just leave a like on this video, I highly appreciate it. Thank you so much for all the love and support. Hopefully guys are liking the progress on the truck. 5 days left to enter, 5 days left to get this thing all wrapped up. Can we do it? I think so. Also, we should have a new truck surprise for you guys on Sunday or Monday. Possibly Monday. Try not to give it away. I'm trying to hold it together for the people. So we actually might have two. Yeah, we might actually have 2 new trucks to reveal after this weekend. So anyways guys, stay tuned. I appreciate you guys. Thanks so much for watching. I will catch you in the next video. Peace.